There comes a moment when your silence becomes your loudest voice, when your calm presence speaks volumes more than any reaction ever could. You've given away too much energy reacting to things beneath you. Now it's time to rise, not by fighting back, but by no longer being moved. There comes a point in every person's life where silence becomes more powerful than words. It's not about avoidance, it's not about fear, and it's definitely not about weakness. It's about knowing when to speak, and more importantly, when not to. You see, anyone can react. Anyone can raise their voice, argue back, or defend their name. But not everyone can hold their ground in stillness. Not everyone can look chaos in the face and choose peace instead. That takes strength, that takes discipline, that takes a level of self-mastery most people never reach. Silence is not the absence of strength, it is the presence of it. There is power in restraint, in staying calm when the world expects you to explode. There is a quiet kind of dominance in refusing to be pulled into petty arguments or emotional traps. When you choose silence over chaos, you're not giving in, you're stepping above. You're no longer a player in someone else's emotional game. You're the one holding the controller now. You've spent too much of your life reacting to things that didn't deserve your energy. You've been pulled into fights that didn't deserve your voice. You've allowed people's opinions to dictate your emotions. And every time you did, you gave away a piece of your power. You handed over control of your peace to someone who never earned it. But the moment you decide that your peace is non-negotiable, everything changes. The moment you stop explaining yourself to those who only listen to twist your words, you reclaim the energy they once stole from you. You begin to understand that silence isn't about shutting down, it's about rising up. People often mistake silence for weakness because they don't understand the kind of inner strength it takes to remain calm under pressure. It's easy to react. It's easy to lash out, but to remain composed when someone's trying to trigger you, that's mastery. That's grace under fire. It's the difference between being a puppet to your emotions and being the one pulling the strings. When you choose silence, you're no longer giving people the satisfaction of seeing you rattled. You're sending a message. You don't have access to my emotions anymore. Your silence disrupts their patterns. It dismantles their tactics. It forces them to face themselves without using you as their emotional punching bag. That's why silence is so uncomfortable for manipulators, because they can't manipulate what they can't control. Your lack of reaction takes away their reward. Your calmness confuses them. They expect noise. They expect noise. They expect you to break. But when you don't, when you remain still, it leaves them powerless. And here's the most powerful truth. Silence speaks. It speaks louder than rage. Louder than justification, louder than long explanations. Silence says, I value my peace more than your approval. It says, I'm not here to argue, I'm here to grow. It says, I've outgrown the need to prove myself to anyone. That is the language of self-respect. That is the sound of inner peace. You're not being cold, you're being clear. You're no longer entertaining what drains you. You're no longer giving pieces of yourself to those who only show up to cause chaos. Choosing silence is not about losing your voice. It's about learning when to use it. It's about understanding that not every opinion deserves a response. Not every jab deserves your attention. And not every person deserves access to your energy. Your silence is your filter. It protects your soul. It keeps your spirit intact. And in a world addicted to noise, being calm is revolutionary. The next time someone tries to provoke you, pause. Breathe. Remember who you are. Let your silence be your armor. Let your stillness be your answer. Because sometimes, the most powerful statement you can make is none at all. Emotional detachment is often misunderstood. People think it means shutting down, becoming cold, or losing your ability to care. But the truth is, detachment isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally wise. It's about refusing to let your peace be held hostage by people who don't value it. It's about drawing a line between what you feel and what you allow to control you. Emotional detachment is not the absence of love. It's the presence of boundaries. When you practice detachment, you're not saying that nothing matters. You're saying that not everything gets to disturb your inner world. You begin to understand that peace is a choice, not a reward. You stop chasing closure, stop begging for clarity, and stop allowing temporary people to have permanent power over your emotional state. That's not coldness. That's self-respect. That's what it looks like when you finally decide that your energy is sacred. There comes a time when you must stop over-explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You must stop pouring into people who only take. You must stop fighting to be seen by those who choose to be blind to your value. That's where detachment becomes your shield. You no longer allow your worth to be determined by how someone treats you. You no longer measure your value based on how others perceive you. Instead, you find stability in your own presence. You realize that being at peace with yourself is more important than being accepted by everyone else. Detachment is not apathy, it's clarity. It's the wisdom to know what deserves your time, what earns your response, and what no longer needs your attention. It's the decision to stop setting yourself on fire just to keep someone else warm. You start realizing that no matter how much you care, you cannot force someone to treat you right, to understand you, or to change. And that realization frees you. It opens a door to a new level of emotional freedom. A level where you are no longer a prisoner of people's opinions, moods, or expectations. It takes strength to care deeply and still walk away when respect is no longer being served. It takes discipline to stop explaining your worth to someone who refuses to see it. Emotional detachment teaches you that your peace is more valuable than being right. That you don't have to win every argument. That you don't need to fix every broken connection. Sometimes, walking away is the real victory. Sometimes, silence is louder than shouting. And sometimes, detaching is the most loving thing you can do for yourself. You stop needing people to validate your pain. You stop needing closure from situations that have already shown you the truth. Detachment gives you your power back. It teaches you to let go, not because you don't care, but because you've chosen to care about yourself more. It shifts your focus from trying to change others to changing your relationship with yourself. You start listening to your needs. You start protecting your boundaries. You stop chasing love and start becoming the love you once begged for. Detachment is not about walking through life emotionless. It's about walking through life with emotional discipline, with the strength to choose your battles, the wisdom to know when to walk away, and the peace that comes from not allowing chaos to dictate your mood. It's the space between you and what used to destroy you. It's the gap between your peace and someone else's storm. So the next time someone accuses you of being distant or heartless, smile. Let them think what they want. You know the truth. You're not cold. You're calm. You're not detached from life. You're detached from the drama. You've chosen to honor yourself, to protect your spirit, and to value your peace. And that is the highest form of self-respect. You are not at the mercy of other people's actions. You are not a puppet, and they don't hold the strings. But the moment you let their words control your mood, the moment you let their behavior dictate your peace, that's when you give away your power. Emotional control is not about suppressing what you feel. It's about choosing how you respond. It's about knowing that not every comment deserves your reaction, and not every action deserves your energy. There are people who thrive on pushing buttons. They don't want to understand you. They want to provoke you. Why? Because your reaction feeds their ego. Your anger gives them validation. Your frustration gives them control. That's why silence, calmness, and composure are not weaknesses, they're strategies. When you stop reacting, you stop feeding the fire. When you stop engaging, you stop letting them win. You become the one who decides what enters your emotional space and what doesn't. You can feel something without letting it take over. You can be aware of the disrespect without stooping to the level of revenge. Because control isn't about what happens to you, it's about what you do with it. You don't have to internalize every insult. You don't have to defend yourself to everyone who misunderstands you. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response. Not because you're scared or weak, but because you've evolved, because peace matters more than being right, because your energy is too expensive to spend on battles that don't lead to growth. The truth is, some people only exist to test your boundaries. They show up to challenge your composure, to see if you'll break, to see if they can shift your mood. And if they succeed, they feel powerful. But when you remain unmoved, unbothered, and unfazed, that's when they lose. That's when your strength becomes undeniable. You're not cold. You're in control. You're not distant. You're disciplined. You've learned that your emotions are yours to manage, not theirs to manipulate. You must understand this. You are not obligated to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to explain yourself to people who've already decided not to understand you. You don't have to engage with people who drain you. The moment you realize that peace is your responsibility, not anyone else's, you take back your life. You become your own anchor. your own safe space, your own strength. And that changes everything. Control means choosing your response instead of being controlled by impulse. It means knowing that just because someone tries to disrespect you doesn't mean they succeed. You define what you give your attention to. You choose what you carry, and you choose what you release. Emotional maturity is learning to walk away from the chaos and walk toward peace, even when it's tempting to retaliate. You will encounter people who want a reaction from you more than a relationship. They want drama more than peace. But you don't have to participate in that cycle. You can rise above it. You can choose silence. You can choose to respond in a way that reflects your growth, not your triggers. That's the real power. That's how you stop being a puppet and start being the master of your own emotional world. Don't hand over your peace to people who haven't earned the right to influence your emotions. Don't let anyone's chaos become your climate. You are the gatekeeper of your mind and the guardian of your heart. Own that role. Protect that peace. And always remember, the moment you stop reacting, you take back control. You become untouchable, not because you're numb, but because you're numb. But because you're numb, but because you're numb, but because you're numb, but because you're numb, but because you're wise enough to know your energy is sacred. There comes a time in your growth when explanations become unnecessary. Not because you don't care, but because you've learned the value of silence. You've learned that peace doesn't need to be justified, and that your boundaries don't need approval to be valid. People will question your distance, your stillness, your refusal to engage, but those who truly understand you won't need an explanation. And those who demand one likely never cared to understand you in the first place. You owe no one a breakdown of your healing process. You owe no one an apology for choosing peace over chaos. Growth is personal. Healing is private. And when you choose to elevate your energy, not everyone can go with you. That's okay. You're not leaving them behind. You're choosing yourself. And that choice may confuse or offend those who were comfortable with your dysfunction, who benefited when your boundaries were weak and your energy was wide open. But not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone should be allowed to interrupt your calm. That's what boundaries are for. They're not walls to keep people out. They're filters to protect what's sacred. And your peace, your time, your energy, they're sacred. You don't have to explain why you stopped picking up the phone, why you don't show up like you used to, or why you've gone quiet. Silence is sometimes the loudest declaration of growth. People who misunderstand your silence were never really listening. They were just waiting for their turn to speak, to demand, to take. But silence isn't absence, it's alignment. It means you're no longer investing energy where it's not respected. It means you've stopped trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. That's not cold, it's clarity. That's not rude, it's survival. You see, explanations can become exhausting. You find yourself repeating the same truths to people who have no intention of honoring them. You explain your boundaries, they test them. You explain your peace, they disrupt it. That's when you realize clarity doesn't require consensus. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You don't need to prove that your healing matters. You just need to protect it. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They're about keeping yourself whole. They're about recognizing when your energy is being drained more than it's being replenished. They're about knowing when to walk away, not to punish, but to preserve. And if someone can't respect the space you need to grow, then they don't deserve a front row seat to your transformation. Choosing boundaries over explanations is choosing maturity over mess. It's knowing that peace sometimes looks like distance, that healing sometimes looks like quiet, and that strength sometimes looks like not responding at all. When you stop needing others to understand your path, you finally free yourself to walk it without guilt. So let your calm speak for itself. Let your silence protect what you've built. Let your boundaries filter the noise. You are not here to be constantly available. You are not here to sacrifice your soul for someone else's comfort. You are here to become the fullest version of yourself, and that journey requires solitude, discernment, and yes, firm boundaries. Don't let guilt trick you into over-explaining your peace. Don't let the pressure of others pull you back into spaces you've outgrown. You have every right to protect your energy. You have every right to choose your mental health. You have every right to evolve, even if they don't understand it. Because the truth is simple. The people who truly value your presence will honor your boundaries without needing a speech. They'll respect your silence without taking it personally. And they'll celebrate your growth without demanding an explanation. Let that be the standard. Let that be your peace. Stillness is not weakness. It is not silence born out of fear. True stillness is power under control. It is the decision to no longer entertain chaos with chaos. It is the refusal to be moved by noise, provoked by drama, or dragged into emotional whirlwinds that no longer serve your peace. And when you choose that kind of stillness, you don't just protect your energy, you expose everything unstable around you. You see, most people are not used to restraint. They thrive on reaction. They measure their influence by how easily they can shake you. They poke, prod, provoke, not always maliciously, but often unconsciously, just to see if they can draw something out of you. But when you remain unmoved, they are left alone with their own noise. When you don't flinch, they panic. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your calm highlights the storm they carry within. Your stillness becomes a mirror that reflects their lack of control, their insecurity, their emotional volatility. People don't always like what they see when that mirror is held up. Because your silence says, I am not available for this. Your lack of reaction says, I am no longer playing this game. And when someone is addicted to drama or dependent on conflict, your stillness becomes their biggest frustration. There's a deep discomfort that comes when someone refuses to react the way you expect. That discomfort reveals what was hidden, the manipulation, the emotional dependency, the unhealed wounds. Stillness doesn't just protect your peace, it unmasks their pain. And while they may blame you for being distant, cold, or aloof, what they're really feeling is the discomfort of their own unresolved chaos echoing back to them. Remaining still is not always easy. It requires discipline, emotional intelligence, and the strength to sit with your feelings rather than project them outward. It means you stop trying to correct every false narrative, stop trying to defend yourself to people who never plan to understand you, and stop trying to fight battles that drain your soul. Stillness is choosing inner clarity over external validation. It takes maturity to not react when everything in you wants to not respond when you've been misunderstood, misrepresented, or mistreated. But that's where your power is. Because the moment you react, they win control. They tugged at your emotions and got what they wanted, your energy. But when you stay calm, when you breathe and walk away, when you protect your peace without explaining why, you reclaim every bit of power that was once stolen through your reactions. Not everyone deserves your energy. Not every situation requires your response. And not every accusation demands your defense. Stillness teaches you that. It teaches you to respond, not react. To pause, not explode. To observe, not absorb. Because your peace is too expensive to trade for the opinions of the emotionally unstable. Some will call it pride. Others will call it ego. But you'll know it's neither. You'll know it's self-control. You'll know it's wisdom. You'll know it's peace. And in time, the same people who once mocked your stillness will be drawn to it. Because deep down, we all crave stability. We all crave safety. And nothing feels safer than being in the presence of someone who knows how to hold their center. Let them talk. Let them spiral. Let them accuse and assume. Your stillness isn't for them, it's for you. And if it reveals their chaos in the process, so be it. That's not your burden to carry. It's their reflection to face. Silence speaks. Stillness speaks. It says, I have nothing to prove, nothing to defend, and nothing to fear. And when you live from that place, their chaos will have nowhere left to land. In a world that moves fast and reacts even faster, the pause is your secret weapon. It's the quiet space between what they say and what you decide to say back. Between what they do and what you choose to do next. And in that pause, everything is shaped, your peace, your power, and your future. Most people overlook it. They rush past it. They speak without thinking, act without reflecting, and regret without learning. But when you learn to pause, you change the game. The pause is where wisdom lives. It's where maturity shows up. It's the space where your higher self gets a chance to intervene before your ego takes the wheel. You see, anyone can react. Reaction is easy. Reaction is impulsive. Reaction is impulsive. Reaction is emotional. But response, that thoughtful, grounded, intentional action, comes from someone who knows how to pause. And in that pause, you reclaim control of your life. People often mistake pause for passivity. They think if you're not loud, you're weak. If you don't clap back, you're afraid. If you don't explain yourself, you're guilty. But real strength isn't in how fast you speak. It's in how well you choose your silence. You don't owe anyone a rushed response. You don't owe anyone your peace just to make them comfortable. The pause gives you permission to rise above, to choose clarity over conflict, and to move in wisdom, not in noise. Not in noise. The truth is, not every situation deserves your energy. Not every insult requires a rebuttal. Not every argument needs your attendance. When you pause, you filter. You give yourself time to feel without falling apart, to assess without attacking, to process without punishing. That split second of breath, of silence, isn't small. It's everything. It's where you decide whether to repeat your patterns or rise above them, whether to feed the chaos or guard your calm. And here's what most people won't tell you. The person who pauses wins. Not because they dominate others, but because they master themselves. In the pause, you stop being a puppet to your triggers. You stop letting emotions dictate your actions. You stop giving your power away to every offense, every opinion, every false assumption. You become grounded, centered, anchored. And when you move from that place, your steps are more powerful, your words more meaningful, your presence more commanding. People may try to provoke you, to rush you, to corner you into reacting. But you owe it to yourself to wait, to breathe, to step back before stepping forward. The pause isn't about being passive. It's about being deliberate. And in a world that glorifies speed, quick clapbacks, and instant outrage, your patience becomes your rebellion. Your silence becomes your stand. Your pause becomes your power move. Every time you hold back from reacting, you're not losing, you're growing. You're building emotional muscle. You're becoming someone who isn't controlled by the chaos around them. And that kind of person is dangerous in the best way. They can't be baited. They can't be broken. They walk into rooms with quiet authority because they've mastered the art of staying still when everything around them wants them to explode. The next time you feel the fire rising, the urge to defend, to prove, to lash out, pause. Breathe. Let silence do what noise can't. Let clarity do what anger won't. And remember, anyone can react, but only the wise know how to respond. Your pause is not a delay. It's not hesitation. It's your alignment. It's where your power gathers before you speak, before you move, before you decide. Hold it like the sacred space it is. And when you come out of that pause, you'll no longer be acting from pain. You'll be leading from purpose. Your ability to pause is not a weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It means you've mastered yourself when everything around you tries to provoke a reaction. The world may test your patience, misunderstand your silence, or push for an emotional response. But you don't flinch. You breathe. You choose wisdom over impulse, clarity over chaos, because you've learned that in that quiet moment between stimulus and response lies your true power. And when you own that space, nothing and no one can control you. Your pause becomes your protection, your boundary, and your greatest move. Ask ChatGPT,